Yeah.
And see participant numbers rising. We have 111 so far. Fantastic. And I think I saw this morning we hit record numbers at 356 people registered for this today.
That feels like a lot of people.
It does feel like a lot.
Like it's a lot of
I
people,
will
right?
say a Slate Presents that I observed last week did have registrants almost in the 600s. So there are some very exciting topics happening in Slate Presents. So lots of cool stuff. But we're at 121 so far, so we'll see how many we get. They're still pouring in, I think. And hello to everyone who is joining us, who is quietly waiting. We're going to get started very shortly. All right. Seems like we still have some people trickling in here, but we're 2 minutes past 2 o'clock. So I'm going to get started with some introductions and then turn it over to our wonderful Slate Presents team. So, welcome everyone to Crafting the Perfect Message using A B testing strategies. Today, we are hearing from two esteemed Slate users. We have Katie Crotty here. Katie is a communication strategist associate at Carnegie, where she gets to play a key role in shaping how colleges connect with future students. And instead of just running email campaigns, she's all about creating thoughtful strategies that help students find their perfect place to learn and grow. Outside of work, you can find her soaking up the great outdoors and trying to keep up with her toddler, Lily. And then we also have Dylan here. Dylan is the Assistant Director of Enrollment Systems and Operations at Goucher College. As a Slate captain for both undergraduate and graduate admissions, he loves working with others to enhance or establish a new process. His inbox is virtually endless, but Dylan is passionate about curating experiences that support and celebrate student journeys. And I will be your very quiet host today. My name is Colby Fear. I am the Admission and Enrollment Program Manager here at Technolutions. And I'm just going to give you just a few housekeeping items before I turn it over to our presenters today. Just so you are aware, this webinar will be recorded. So if there is someone who is not able to come today, you will be able to get the recording for this in just a couple of days. If you would like to put on closed captioning, up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you can see that CC button right next to the full screen viewing option. So you can expand this out if you would like to. If you do need to resync audio or anything like that, please feel free to go ahead and refresh your share screen. That will not kick you out of the meeting. And then you can post any questions you would like in the chat. We'll be taking questions at the end, and I'll be moderating that for you. So without further ado, I turn it over to Katie and Dylan.
Thank you, Colby. Okay, so I will get started. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to share how A/B testing can help you craft the perfect message to meet your institution's goals. I know Colby already did intros, and I hope, oh my goodness, I hope I don't look as distorted on your screen as I do on mine. But if I do, at least you've got this video of me. I'll start with a little introduction of myself again, just very brief off of what Colby said. But my name's Katie. I am a Slate Strategist Associate with Carnegie. I have worked in higher ed for the past 10 years, and I have been a user of Slate since 2019. I recently joined the Carnegie team last summer, and I have learned more about Slate than I ever thought possible. So I'm excited to share with you all just a little bit of the information or a little bit of the knowledge that I have. Dylan, over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm Dylan Gerald, Assistant Director for Enrollment Systems and Ops at Goucher College. I've been at Goucher for a little bit over a year and have been in a variety of roles. I come up as an admission counselor and am fully in Slate these days at Goucher College. So excited to be here.
Wonderful. So here's our agenda for today. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect. So, first, we're going to cover why A B testing matters, why it's important. Then, we're going to dive into understanding the basics of A B testing. I will show you how to set up an A B test in Slate. And then, we're going to analyze the results off of an awesome report that Dylan built, and he will share how he did that with all of you. And then, we're going to apply the A B testing insights beyond just email communications. So, if you are all ready, buckle up and we will get started on this A B testing adventure. All right, so first, why does A B testing matter? There are a ton of challenges that we face in higher ed, and we're going to talk about some of those general challenges first. We are operating in a completely different landscape than we have in the past. It seems that ways of communicating with students changes almost daily. And because of that, it is more important than ever to be strategic with how we reach those students. The first challenge we'll talk about is increasing competition. And again, I'm sure many of you are aware of these challenges, but there's a fight for a limited pool of students, and generic messaging isn't going to cut it these days. So many of us are vying for prospective students, and as many of you know, the traditional age college student is the age of those, or the number of those college age students is falling. Students have more choices than ever when it comes to choosing a college or university, and they expect personal attention when they are being communicated with. It's almost like we're in a buyer's market. And keep in mind that competition isn't just coming from four-year colleges, it's coming from the amazing community colleges out there, online programs, and other alternative paths. It's also incredibly important that we are recruiting the right students, because if you are recruiting the students that are a good fit for you, they're more likely to succeed, to graduate, and become engaged alumni, which will create that positive ripple effect for the institution. So, to reach the right students, we need to understand what their needs are, what their interests are, what motivates them, and then communicate with them in a personalized and targeted way. Another challenge is the information overload. Students are being bombarded with information from websites, social media, email, and can likely build some sort of small fort with the number of print pieces that they are receiving from all of the colleges and universities out there. So, if you want to stand out from all of that noise, targeted, concise, compelling messaging that's not generic can do just that. So, you want to think about their entire journey. Think about what the right information is, the right time, and a way, give them that information in a way that's easy for them to consume. And it's becoming more and more important to demonstrate the value of a college education. Students and families want to know that their investment's going to pay off. And at the same time, all of our budgets seem to be getting tighter than ever. So, moving away from strategies that are based on guesswork and more on those data driven approaches is the way to go about addressing that challenge. So, next, we're going to talk about some email challenges when it comes to communicating with students. Email is still a crucial tool in higher ed. However, sometimes the effectiveness can feel like it's declining. But if we're more strategic when it comes to email, it can help ensure that messages are seen, they're engaged, and they're seen and engaged once they hit a student's inbox. So, one of the challenges that comes with email communication is low engagement. I want you guys to think about your own inbox. How many emails do you get in a day? Prospective students are in the same boat, maybe worse, because we are all sending them so many communications. This means that our emails are competing for attention along with everything else that they've got going on within their lives and in their inboxes. A generic subject line is not going to cut it. Same with a giant wall of text. Nobody wants to get lost in the shuffle if you aren't strategic and grabbing their attention. Then we've got opt-out rates. Students can be quick to unsubscribe from emails they think are irrelevant or annoying. And high opt-out rates could potentially hurt your relationship with students if they don't think you understand their needs. So make sure that you take the time to provide personalized communication, and it'll show them that they are valued. Lastly, we've got content fatigue. And much like I've said already, prospective students are receiving a lot from all different directions. And at this point, many students can point out a mass-produced message a mile away and tune it out. This will be problematic when you're trying to share important information like deadlines for applications, event announcements, financial aid details. And if you're tuned out, the students are going to miss these important bits of information. So if the content in the email isn't giving fresh, it's not giving exciting, it's not giving new and personalized, it's not going to hit. You want the messages to slap, as the kids would say. So make sure that you are keeping your messages nice and fresh. All right. We're going to talk about the star of the show, Miss A/B testing herself. I've got a little definition on the screen there for all of you. A/B testing is a method for comparing two or more variables to accomplish a goal. So now that we've talked about the challenges, I'm going to now touch on how A/B testing can help solve those challenges. So first, let's improve those engagement rates. Like I mentioned, we know it's hard to get those students to engage and open the emails in a flooded inbox. So A/B testing is going to allow us to optimize those crucial elements that drive action. You're going to see a few examples on the screen. We have got the subject line first. That first impression, you can test different approaches to see what's capturing their attention. Is it a sense of urgency? Is it promising some sort of benefit? Is it a personalized touch, a compelling question, a fun emoji? Any assumption that you have can be validated with an A/B test. Same goes for pre-headers, perfecting the pre-header. And surprisingly, the pre-header always gets me when I'm looking through my inbox. It is valuable real estate. You can write your pre-header in different tones. You can include different content to entice students to open the emails and learn more. Do you make it a continuation of the subject line? Is it a little teaser? Is it a question? You can play around with this space and have some fun. Then we've got the call to actions, or the CTAs. They're next, and they're going to guide that next step beyond just opening the email. An A/B test can help refine the wording in a call to action, the placement of a button, even the design of a call to action altogether to maximize those clicks. Do you use apply now in a button? Do you use learn more? Do you want to use something a little bit more fun and spicy? Does a button outperform a text link? Those are all things that an A/B test can help to determine. Then we've got reducing opt-out rates. Like I mentioned previously, if a student is opting out, they may find your messaging irrelevant. If you focus on A/B testing content relevance, you can solve this problem. Focus on the quality of the content to keep those students interested. Then we've got content fatigue. Students can become bored with that repetitive email format. You can test different layouts, visual elements, content structures to see what is holding those students' attention. Does a short, plain text message work better for quick updates, while emails with a template and more visuals or videos do better for storytelling? Enhancing personalization is next. This is key to cutting through that noise. We can test different levels, like using the student's name, mentioning their intended major, highlighting their interests. And then finally, you'll be able to see how building a report can help you guys make the best data-informed decision and what is actually performing best on a detailed level. All right, now we're going to go to some pre-setup thoughts. Now that we've talked about how A/B testing can solve some challenges, we're going to get ready to set one up. Here are a few things to consider. First, define your goal. Before you even think about what you want to test, you need to know why you are testing. What is the ultimate outcome you're trying to achieve? Will this goal help you reach those institution goals overall? It'll help you guide you through the entire process. Next, you're going to want to determine your variable. The variable is a specific element you'll change in your A/B test. Think about what elements of your communication are most likely to influence a student's behavior, and then prioritize those for testing. For instance, is it a compelling subject line? Is it something that's going to increase clicks, like a clear, concise call to action? And examples of those variables, like we've mentioned already, can be subject lines, CTAs, email body content, language, images, videos, or even changing the sender name. Then you're going to want to create the test group. To make sure the comparison is fair, you need to divide the audience into two groups: control group, which is version 1 or version A, and a test group, which is version 2 or version B. The control group will receive the original version, while the test group will receive the variation. And Slate has a feature that creates a random split for you, which I'll dive into in a couple slides. You're going to then define the testing period. This is the duration for which your A/B test will run. For email, it's common to do 24 to 72 hours after sending. And again, I'll touch on this on the coming slides. Then you're going to want to track, measure, and analyze. Define how you will measure success. Those common metrics for A/B testing in higher ed emails include open rates, click rates, and click-through rates. And Slate can help you track all of those once your email is sent. One thing I do want to point out when you are determining how you want to track success, open rates these days are no longer a super reliable measure for engagement due to the privacy protection. So oftentimes we look at click rates. So again, that's just something I want everyone to keep in mind as you set up your A/B testing. And then you're going to determine whether the difference in performance of your emails is significant. This will tell you whether the variation you tested had a real impact or not. And Dylan will share a report, like I said, he created to break down an A/B tested email performance even further. And then after that, you're going to apply what you've learned. Apply it in future communications and then beyond. Again, we'll touch on that at the end. But you don't have to stop at just the one email. You can use the insights that you've gained from one A/B test to inform your next round of A/B testing to continue to refine your strategy over time. If you tested a subject line and found a sense of urgency performed well, you can then test different ways to create that urgency in future communications. All right, so now let's build the email in Slate. So this is small. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull this up on my screen over here so I can see it in a much larger window. All right, so you're going to create the message in Deliver to start. And when you create the new message, you're going to click Edit Message to begin crafting that first version of the email. So in Deliver, you're going to see the Edit Message box. And next to the subject line, some of you may or may not have noticed that there's a drop-down menu that includes version 1 and version 2. That's the A/B testing setup options. So you'll put in the recipient, the subject, the body of the email in version 1. And once that's done, you're going to go to that drop-down, click version 2 to begin building the second version of the email. Once that is complete, save the message, and you'll be able to toggle between both versions of the email by clicking the icon that appears next to the phone and the computer screen. It is the box that has the two arrows going opposite directions. That's the button you'll click to toggle between version 1 and version 2. Then you are going to get ready to send the message. So once you've built out version 1 and version 2, you're going to click the Send Mailing button to configure those send settings. The highlighted yellow words are the split testing send settings that will appear once you've created an A/B test. You're going to determine how you're going to split the testing, the sample size, the sample period, and then what action to take after the sample period is done. If you go to send the mailing and you don't see these options, go back into version 2 to make sure that version 2 has a subject line and a recipient email address. This split testing options won't appear if you don't have a version 2 or you don't have those two items in the version 2 populated. Whoop. All right, so we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the send settings. When you are getting ready to send an A/B test, there's a couple things you need to consider. Are you A/B testing an email that's part of a drip campaign, or are you doing a one-off ad hoc message sort of send? So if you are doing a drip email for sample size, you're going to want to look at the size of your entire population. So you're going to want to go to the database, populations, and look at that number as a whole. You're not going to want to base the sample size off of the number of students that are there on that drip day, if that makes sense. If you're doing a one-off ad hoc message, you're going to look at the size of the entire recipient list. For a sample period, we recommend 72 hours in order to give students enough time to engage with the email, but Slate does give you a variety of options from 48, 24, 12 to 6 hours. But like I said, 72 is best to allow students that time to engage. Then there is that option for after the sample period. For ad hoc messages, you're going to want to deactivate since that email will stop running after 72 hours and the student won't be receiving anything else. But if the email is in a drip campaign, you can either choose to send the version with the most unique clicks or the version with the most unique opens. Just make sure that you're choosing whichever option aligns with the goal that you've created in the beginning. All right. So after the email sends, after the 72-hour period, you are going to see this little statistics box appear above the email interactions chart. This will display which email version performed better and a breakdown of each sample size. It's very high level information. And then like I said, Dylan's got a little report that'll go a little bit deeper comparing information that's more than just this little box here. So we're going to dive into an A/B tested email that was done with Carnegie and Goucher. So we partnered together to create email campaigns. Carnegie works with Goucher to do their senior search and app gen campaigns. And Goucher recently implemented a brand statement initiative focusing around the phrase global changemaker. They wanted us to tie in two pitches within our communication plans, an inspiring pitch and a cultivating pitch. So to do that, we decided to send an ad hoc message to those two populations in senior search and app gen. We tested the bottom paragraph in each of the emails, and then we also tested the subject line. So we had the first email on the left is the inspiring pitch. The email on the right is the cultivating pitch. I'm going to pass it to Dylan so he can review the results of those A/B tests and the report that he created for those.
Thanks, Katie. So again, I'm Dylan Gerald. Welcome. The A/B test that we're working with today, like Katie said, started out through this research that we were doing for our branding. And since then, we have moved forward with our Inspiring Global Changemakers branding. But this report is really going to show us how we kind of got to that. A little bit more before we dive into that about Goucher. Goucher is one of the colleges that change lives, and we're a pretty small institution with about 1,000 undergraduate students and roughly 600 grad students. So let's jump right in. Okay, we are going to build a Slate report. Before we get into some very specifics, I am going to just tell you a little bit about the report itself that we're going to end up with. It's going to have two sections, two separate distinct sections. One of those sections will have statistics across the top, so you'll see open, click, and the percentages. And then the second section will be similar to the screenshot that was just a couple slides back, where version 1 and version 2 are both across the top. So just setting up some ground rules and expectations. So in order to actually create the report, you'll start out by going to the reports module, creating a new report, giving it a name, assigning it a folder, realms, permissions, all of the things that you would normally do. And when we get down to our base, we're going to choose configurable joins and message specifically. I chose message because we're wanting to pull one row per message that was sent. If we were instead to choose like the message mailing base, then we would receive one row per mailing, and we don't want that. We want one row per message. So going to look at that. Once you have the basics of your report set up, the kind of the overall part at the top, you'll see that is on the right-hand side of the screen here. You're going to join to message mailing in order to select the specific message we're looking at. Like Katie mentioned, we're focusing on ad hoc number 2 for senior search, which was the message that we tested. So pretty simply, just did a join to message mailing and then filtered on message mailing name in order to select the specific message that we're looking at. Once you have the larger part created, you'll set up columns within it, and the bottom of the screen will show what those columns are going to look like. We pretty simply set them up as well. So again, we're joining to message mailing and the name, and then we added variable names for each of them so that we can have a formula at the end. So one column for delivered, one column for open, gave each of them a name, and then made sure that our statuses were filtered. The open column has a status for open set as one of the filters, and the delivered column does not. I chose to do that so that we could look at any message that had been sent, regardless of what the statistic or regardless of where the student ended up landing on that message. Continuing on, we added one more for click and filtered on click, giving it a variable name again, and then added some formula columns in order to calculate our statistics. I gave them a column group so that they're kind of tacked together at the end, and then added our basic formula and gave it a number format. Once you've done that, you should see something that looks like this at the top. So you'll have your metric, delivered opens, clicks, but there's no information inside of there. So we'll need to add a data table and select some columns and filters to show. Um, the exports that we're going to show, we used name so that the actual name of the message would appear, and then added a filter to that part for the message version, just to say that a version exists. Period. So on the right hand side, this is a subquery that just exports the message version, and then on the bottom, this is what you should be at right now. Okay, we're going to continue on and add one more data table. And in that one, we're actually going to show version 1 and version 2. So you'll do that by adding exports for your message version. Whenever you select your versions, it will actually just show up as a number. So unless you concatenate and include the version in front of that, then it will just show a number 1 or a number 2. So we chose that, and then we also added an export for status, which does some coalescing in order to pull out a student's stage, whether they're admitted, deposited, if they are awaiting materials, etc. And I will go into to show more of what's coalesced here later, though. In the second part that we're going to set up, create a new part. You're going to repeat steps 1 through 6 the same way. So from the message base, and we're going to join the message mailing. And then we'll add a column for version 1 and then a column for version 2. I also set up a total column so that we could see overall what the numbers were. Okay. So adding a new data table, we again are going to filter on our message and include the message status in this next part. The message status would be delivered, opened, clicked, etc., bounced, those types of things. And then we're going to pull our status again like we had in the last slide. The subquery export that's listed here in the group by section for status, that actually uses a couple of different statuses. So we're looking at person status, application status, and rank 1 decision. So we coalesced person status and application status. And then in our next screenshot on the right, same thing with application status and rank 1 decision. So that at the end of the day, if a student was a deposited student, then they wouldn't show up as an applicant. They would be categorized into that separate bucket. Okay. And this is what your report will look like whenever you're done with all of that. It really shouldn't take too much to set up. But whenever we looked in here, there were a couple of things that I off the bat noticed, and that was the open rates were pretty different between version 1 and version 2. So 12% on version 1, and then version 2 had roughly a 10% open rate. And then the click rates 0.84% versus 1.13% at the time that we took this screenshot. Katie, did you want to add anything to this one?
Yes, I'm going a little bit deeper here. So, version one had the higher open rate, which was that inspiring pitch subject line, which was it's time to start your transformation, person preferred. Version two had that cultivating subject line, which was it's time to think global, person preferred. So, I personally thought I liked that inspiring pitch more. So that didn't surprise me. But, but what was also nice to see is that version two had more admits, less admit declines, and fewer students who remained at the prospect stage, which is what we want. So you can see that highlighted here in those circles. But that's that.
Mhm.
Dylan, you're going to go on to the suitcase.
Yeah. So this report is set up in a suitcase. You can capture that here. I'll make sure that that's updated today, but it should be fine. But yeah, the suitcase is there. You should be able to use it perfectly fine. All you'll need to do is configure the message that you're selecting, and everything else should work just okay. Um, but this will be up pretty much into eternity as long as it's needed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dylan. The beauty of A/B testing is that the insights that we've gained from the emails can be super valuable in optimizing the entire outreach of the rest of your strategy. So, if you had text in subject lines that performed well, you can use them as headlines on web pages or on the postcards that the students are building forts with, or as captions on social media, or even in a text message to students. Then, if there's images that performed well, again, throw them on your websites. Use them as social media sponsored posts, as the main image in a postcard. There's lots of different ways that you can incorporate those variables into other platforms and ways of reaching students. I also thought it was super interesting to apply some of those A/B testing insights into the admissions presentation. I was responsible for the admissions presentation at my previous institution, and it got me thinking like how many admissions presentations are students sitting through these days? You need to make your presentation as engaging and persuasive as possible to keep their attention. So, using results of A/B tested emails to make that presentation more engaging and more pleasing, incredible, to make it more impactful. Um, but that's all we've got today, everybody. Thank you so much. Questions that we can help answer, thoughts, we're here.
All right. It looks like there's a number of questions in the chat. Great job away. Just looking through here, I see we put the suitcase into the chat. There is a question from Trevor Kingsley about time-based communications. So if we are sending out a mailing, um, when does our 24-hour, 72-hour period begin? Is that when we click send mailing, or is that when the first message goes out if that's not scheduled to happen for more than that 72-hour period?
I believe it's like if you click send mailing and it's a one off ad hoc message, it'll be like at that moment. If you're doing a drip email, or even if you schedule the ad hoc message, it'll be once that email is like sent out, it hits that time that you want it to go to the inboxes. Um, I can double check on that though and let Trevor know, but I'm almost certain that's how it will go.
All right, awesome. Moving down here in the chat, we have a question from Sandy, and she is asking, "Can you discuss open rate reliability? Because we see in the timeline one open versus many opens, 5 or 6 opens per message, and does this report account for the number of opens per user?"
That's a great question. I don't know, to be completely honest, and I'll check back with my team like how Slate tracks opens. But because of like all the different privacy with different services and platforms and stuff, I know it just varies. So I can get Sandy an exact answer based off of the expertise of my teammates at Carnegie. So I'm so sorry that that's not like a super solid answer, but I know it's so hard to nail down exact open rates.
I will say, I think, and don't quote me on this, I think that the report that I built is not going on unique opens and unique clicks. I think that it's going on aggregate clicks and opens. Um, there should be a way to do that. I know that there is a unique clicks and a unique opens data points that are in the message base, but I would need to test that out before I start telling people how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you definitely should be able to do that depending on what it is that you actually want to look for in your report. Was it opened at all, or is this an email that someone is returning to multiple times? And that could be based on what the call to action in that email is. Is that something that has a link to a portal that goes out to a student or something like that, a place they'd want to revisit? Um, Going down here to Emily's question, Emily McCubbin, she asks, "Are there any negatives to testing all of the recipients in the email that you are sending, or is there a recommended maximum?"
We typically test all of the recipients. So, like, if we're doing an ad hoc message, the entire recipient list we can A/B test, but you just want to make sure that it's like evenly split, so that there's no difference in sample size. But we test the entire population or the entire recipient list, no matter how many people are in it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I think it does, but I think to get to the person's question, I think there could be reasons for excluding someone from an A/B test, like if there's a certain population that performs differently or has different motivations, you could exclude people from an A/B test for that reason. But I think generally, like for our purposes, we wanted to include the whole search population.
Great. Danielle Coila asks, "Are you making changes based on the results of one of your A/B tests?"
That's a good question. So, we're working with Goucher next cycle. So, I imagine that the results from that test will be passed on to our copywriters as they start building out communications for the following cycle. But I know, like, as a Slate strategist, that's something that we'll keep in mind as we're reviewing the emails as well. So, I mean, from a Carnegie Goucher standpoint, definitely we want to act on the results of those A/B testing. And I don't know, Dylan, if you guys are doing anything internally, but on our end, super helpful information as we prepare to communicate with students for the next cycle.
Yeah, and internally, I mean, we're moving forward with the brand changes, so we definitely are taking advantage of what we've done with the A/B test. But I think that there's definitely opportunity to continue and see how we might further segment our messaging and this specific brand component. So.
Wonderful. And just kind of a good segue question here from Rebecca. Is there a best practice on how often you should A/B test communication? So if we're learning things from this, it's not every single email.
No, I wouldn't A/B test every single email, but I don't think that there's limits. I mean, if it's going to help you to become more targeted and precise in how you communicate with your students, why not do it as often as you see fit? But like within reason, you know? I mean, I don't think there's a limit. I think you can have fun with it.
I agree, and I also I think it would kind of mostly be up to your bandwidth as an office and a division, um, but I don't think that the students or the populations involved would necessarily know that you're A/B testing them all the time, but you certainly could.
Great. And then when we are talking about minimum numbers of recipients, so we can have a reliable A/B test, this question comes from Melissa. Is there an industry standard for a minimum number of recipients for an A/B test?
You know? I don't know. I mean, I would want to say, I guess I'm not 100% sure. Maybe like, I mean, I can't imagine some populations are super small, but um, I don't know. I can get back to you on that one. That's a good question. I would imagine a few hundred at least. But again, that's just kind of ballpark guessing.
Yeah, I would
We can get
say just I think someone put it in the chat too, but I think just based on like the size of schools and the variation that goes along with that. It could be like you could test as low as like 1,000 if you wanted to, but it's just I would make sure that whenever you are testing, that you're doing it with a number that's statistically significant, um, rather than just you don't want to test 10 people and see their reaction. You want to get a larger significant population that you're going for.
And if I could jump in on that, I also think that depends on the content of the message. If it's a marketing communication and the goal is to get additional inquiries or things like that, it's going to be a very large pool of people. Whereas sometimes if you're maybe testing students who are enrolling for the semester, that's already going to be significantly fewer students, and that might be 1,000 students. And you might have a much smaller kind of group. But maybe you're testing whether or not they actually read emails or if they watch a video in an email or something like that. So maybe it's relative in that
Mm.
capacity. All right, our chat seems to have been quieting down, but we could take just a minute of reflection, I suppose, as we are coming to the end of our session today. I think that was some really great information about A/B testing, and actually. This presentation sparked some conversation with my team in admissions here at Technolutions to talk about how we might be using some A/B testing strategies to help us with some of our processes here and things like that. So we were talking about this just earlier today.
I love that.
I do too.
AB is a lot of fun. Oh,
We love to use our Slate tools here at Technolutions. All right. And if that is where we have ended up today, we have a nice early afternoon. I hope it is sunny everywhere that you are. If you are sitting at your house or in your office, I hope you're having a wonderful day. And this recording is going to be made available in the next couple of days. You'll have that later this week. But thank you so much to Katie and to Dylan. And Dylan, I should apologize. Dylan Gerald is the person that we have presenting with us today, and I realized that that was my typo that I added here on this presentation. So, my sincerest apologies on that. But have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.